Welcome back to another Miskatonic AV Club, a Mythos Busters production, where we review the player cards from Arkham Horror, the LCG. I guess it's technically the card game, but whatever, I call it an LCG. With me again is Josh, also known as Delarp Guy, on our Discord. Josh, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So this time we'll be reviewing the Unspeakable Oath player cards. Let's start it off with Fight or Flight. It's a one-cost survivor event. Spirit traded, fast, play only during your turn. Until the end of the round, you get plus X combat and plus X agility, where X is the amount of horror on you. This card is insanely good.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times this has saved my bacon.
I mean, it's whether you have 3 giant enemies you have to evade or 3 swarms of rats that you have to punch in the neck. Do rats have necks? Anyways, fantastic card. There's a lot of investigators who whoever can take this would take it. I mean, even if you're able to take big guns or whatnot, that skill boost. Like sometimes this is a 1 cost plus 4 to 2 skills. Like that's insane.
Oh yeah. I honestly don't see a downside to this. I mean, the cost is cheap. It covers the 2 most common skills that you would need a boost to when you are in need.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as you were saying, it's typically going to be a +2, +3.
Yeah. It's when you're dealing with enemies, this card is just it's almost too good. I'm surprised this doesn't have a cap, and I'm not suggesting, Matt, that you cap it, but I mean, there are times you can get a +5 out of this, and that is just absolutely ridiculous. When you're not dealing with enemies, there may be some other treachery cards coming off the deck. Josh, you want to read a test of will?
Absolutely. 1 cost, 1 XP. It has a willpower pip. Test of will, spirit. Fast, play when an investigator at your location draws a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect, exile a test of will. With or without hope, all you can do is resist.
This awesome cancel card. The fact that it can hit any investigator at your location is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. And just as a quick aside, I absolutely love the art on this. The art just fits so well.
Yeah, and the flavor text is a response to the Test of Will card in Lord of the Rings. And basically, it's a quote from Elrond. It's something like, "When you can't," something about resisting, and all you can do is hope. And this is just a very melodramatic. Well, with or without hope, all you can do is resist. But
yeah, everything about this card just screams Survivor, which it's really nice flavor. It's got a great mechanical effect. I absolutely love exile cards.
mm-hmm.
I think that's such an interesting mechanic, and this one is perfect. I mean, it's only a 1 cost, and it's a great way to, oh crap, this is not good. Let's put a stop to this.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny it came out into Unspeakable Oath as well, because Unspeakable Oath has some of the more backbreaking treacheries, I think. Like, whenever I play Unspeakable Oath, I save some sort of cancel card for Straitjacket. Like, I do not want to get Straitjacketed. Yeah, and a Test of Will is perfect for that, and it can help your friends, too.
Yeah. And I am right there with you. Unspeakable Oath it is not the most difficult scenario, but the consequences can be dire, so the fact this came out in it was perfect timing.
All right, moving on to the next Survivor card, also an exile card, Devil's Luck. It is 1 cost, 1 XP event. It has the agility pip. It's fortune traded and fast. Play when you are dealt damage and or horror. Cancel up to 10 damage and or horror just dealt to you. And exile Devil's Luck. That was my favorite hat. Have we seen a boss that can do more than 10 damage or horror in one swing?
More than no.
I think Yogg
Ruru can do 5 and 5.
Oh yeah, Ruger. Yeah, you're right. When he gets all pumped up.
Yep.
Yogg can do 6.
I can't think of anything that can do more than that.
No. This is a great get out of jail free card. Especially if for some reason you have decided to be the one to tank the boss while everyone hits it. To be able to just stand there and take a swing from a boss, regardless of the size, and just cancel it out. Great end game card.
Absolutely. And this also has the benefit of survivors tend to rely a lot on their assets and their allies to take some of their damage and horror. If it is direct horror or direct damage, this can be your, oh shit button.
Yeah, absolutely. Get rid of that direct stuff. God. I think it's also decent mid-game, like if you're facing something that's going to knock you down 4 or 5 points. I think it's okay, like just because it says cancel 10, don't think of it as I have to wait until I'm taking 6. Sometimes canceling 3 total is enough for this.
Yep, I definitely agree. I've used this before to stop a hit of 2 or 3, and just sometimes, depending on the timing, this can be very worthwhile even for those smaller hits.
Yeah. All right. Would you like to read our friendly lawyer friend?
Well, everybody loves Charles Ross Esquire. 2 cost acquisition. Acquisitions and solicitation. Ally patron. It's got the intellect pip. You may spend resources to pay for item assets played by other investigators at your location. Fast, exhaust Charles Ross Esquire, reduce the cost of the next item asset played by an investigator at your location by 1. 1 health, 2 sanity, and the ally slot.
So the patrons are money makers, essentially.
Yep.
As far as I understand.
Absolutely. And this one does an okay job of it.
Mm-hmm. I think because he's limited to items, that kind of makes it a little less good. It's a horrible sentence, but yeah, it's not great. I do like the little caveat that he does not have like an ending part to his clause where you can use him multiple times over multiple turns to stack up the reduction of the cost of the next asset someone plays. So if you use this 4 times on a particular Guardian friend, he can play a 45 automatic for free.
Yep. I found that in general, if you're going to use him, it works really well in 2-player or 2-handed pairings of a Seeker and Guardian because of that. Guardians tend to lack in ways to pay for their weapons, and good old Chuck here can do a pretty good job of acquiring those weapons for you.
I also like him a lot in Roland, because you said like exactly the Seeker, the Guardian combo, and this gives Roland 1 extra. Well, I guess technically 2 extra sanity soak, but you probably want to keep him around for a bit. But over a couple turns, Charles Ross can, ease the burden on Roland as far as getting out a lot of his tools.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he's okay. He's not bad, but he is definitely made for certain decks or certain combinations.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next card we have is a Seeker Event, a 0 cost, 1 XP, Forewarned. It's got a Willpower pip, it's Insight traded, and fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness Treachery card. Place one of your clues on your location, then cancel that card's Revelation effect. It's alright, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. It's not terrible, but not great either.
Mm-hmm. The fact when it's just you. If one of your partners draws a card, you can't cancel it. I mean, that's for the most part, most of the cancellation cards. But yeah,
For me, the big thing that would change it, I would play it in pretty much every Seeker if it was 0 XP. It seems like a 0 XP card to me.
yeah, it has the cost of placing a clue on the location, so I feel like that might already be enough cost instead of the XP.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of the Seekers that I play can take a Ward of Protection, anyways. So I'm okay with that. And so Forewarned seems a lot less attractive to me for that reason.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. Would you like to read probably your favorite investor character in this game?
So everybody loves Dario El Amin. Unscrupulous investor, 4 cost intellect pip. While you have 10 or more resources, you get +1 willpower and +1 intellect. Action: if there are no enemies at your location, exhaust Dario, gain 2 resources. 2 health, 2 willpower, ally slot. So, yeah, right on point for the rogue theme. Definitely not for every rogue deck, but Jenny's best friend for sure.
Yeah, Jenny seems like the one that you could easily get to kind of his 10 or more resources requirement. And once you're above that, I mean, having a permanent skill boost for 2, that's nice.
He's also very good in Safina.
Yeah.
Safina definitely benefits from that extra willpower because of her ability to be more consistent with events. She can get those hot streaks and quiches going a lot quicker. So he is very good in Safina.
Yeah, and I mean, like Sean said in one of our previous episodes, Safina is really a mystic at heart. Um, and that extra willpower, I think, is really beneficial to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad, too, that he's kind of got so you can take a damage on a horror before he has to die, essentially. That's not something to shake a stick at. So
yeah, he's a good all round ally. A lot of rogue players I've seen kind of skip over him just because that 10 resource thing seems like a big threshold at first. But I would say definitely give him a shot. You'd be surprised how often you can get to that consistently.
right on. All right, moving on to Sneak Attack. What? Level 2. So 2 cost event, 2 XP, rogue, obviously. It has an intellect pip and 2 combat pips, and it's a tactic. Deal 2 damage to an enemy not engaged with you at your location. And as a reminder, the level 0 sneak attack, everything was the same except it was 2 damage to an exhausted enemy at your location. This is a lot more versatile, and I really like it. Though I'm not sure if I want to spend the 2 XP for it. What's been your experience, Josh?
kind of in the same boat. This tends to be a late in the campaign pickup for me, just because it's not the sort of thing where it's going to be your first XP expenditure, but once you start getting your whatever your Dex engine going is, this is not a bad pickup for any rogue.
It does have the ability to really support other players, where you don't have to take their enemy, exhaust it, and then sneak attack it. Like, you can just deal 2 damage to, the acolyte or the ghoul that's just attacking your partner. So I do see that advantage. And the additional combat pip is really nice as well.
Yeah, at one of my games at Gen Con this year, had a player playing Mark that got stuck with a 4 health enemy that he didn't have any weapons. He had nothing really out in front of him. And I just moved his location and sneak attacked twice with this and took care of it. And then got to glow to, so you think Skids is weak now. But like I said, it's not your first XP choice, but it is definitely something to keep an eye out for possible late campaign. And as I've mentioned before, testless damage is always good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get down in the trenches, if you want to read the next one.
Trench Knife, 1 cost asset, combat pip, item, weapon, melee. Engage actions you perform do not provoke attacks of opportunity. Action, fight. You get plus X combat for this attack. X is the number of enemies engaged with you. I've seen more violence than most people see in a lifetime, which is a great quote for this, because this is a down and dirty fighter card.
Yeah, it really is. The only thing I don't like about it, there's a few things I don't like about it. I mean, when you're looking at Guardian weapons, I expect it to have a damage boost. This one doesn't. So you're going to be throwing like 1 shot, 1 damage, high test shots at the enemy. And I don't think that the engage actions you perform do not provide attack or do not provoke attacks of opportunity is enough to balance it out, where I would want to have a single damage weapon.
Yeah, this is definitely for the Guardians who are more reliant on consistency. So yeah, this is not the best weapon out there, but it is consistent enough that you keep seeing this pop up in decks, and there are some good combos that work with it.
I would just always choose, I think, the slightly bigger knife as machete. But yeah, for 1 cost, I mean, it's an okay offhand weapon, I guess.
I find when I'm building Guardians for 4-player, I tend to pick Trench Knife over Machete, because that inconsistent extra damage on the Machete, especially for 4-player, this is going to tends to give you a little bit higher consistency. Also, if I'm playing Zoe, which it tends to be my Guardian of choice, then this is great for her, because, great, I get to engage more stuff and earn more money.
Yeah, very fair.
Yeah, definitely not the best one, but it is a good one of in some Guardian decks.
Well, I think you could certainly ambush enemies with a trench knife. And so I'll just read ambush. It is a Guardian 2-cost event with 1 XP in its ambush. It has an intellect pip, a combat pip. It's tactic traded. Attached to your location. If there are no investigators attached at attached location, discard ambush. Forced. After an enemy spawns at attached location, deal 2 damage to that enemy and discard ambush. I think this card is a thematic home run.
I would agree.
And I think it's decent too. Like depending on the scenario, I think this is a very like a toolbox niche card. But it can do some serious work in those scenarios where you're kind of bottlenecked.
To me, this is more of a Dunwich card, just considering the amount of and the types of enemies that show up in Carcosa. This tends not to be as useful.
Yep, I completely agree. This was, I found, really great for dealing with whippoorwills. If you're going to stay at a location for a couple turns, being able to place this down and the whippoorwill comes out and you just knock it out of the air right away. Oh, those damn birds.
I didn't even think of it as a solution for that, but yeah, that would be effective.
All right. Would you like to read Book of Shadows?
I would be happy to. So we've got a downgraded Book of Shadows here. 3 cost, 1 XP, and an intellect pip. Exhaust Book of Shadows and spend 1 resource. Add 1 charge to a spell asset you control, and it is a hand slot.
So before,
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think this one is really dependent on which mystic you are playing.
Which mystic would you use it in?
In general, going to use it in probably Marie more than anybody, or Jim. If you have a open hand slot.
Book of Shadows, there is I had to look it up because I had not even looked at it in months. And it's 4 cost, 3 XP. And you basically just exhaust Book of Shadows and add a charge counter to a spell like this. But it also gave you an extra arcane slot. I think the big issue was it was 3 XP, so only pretty much mystics could take it, and it was tome traded. And so people were like, why can't Daisy take it? This one Daisy can take, but I don't think it's really one that she'd want that much. Like, I think she has way better choices for hand slots. Yeah, like in tomes and in just hand slots in general. I can see where the design was kind of going to make it like a stepping stone, but I just think the Book of Shadows should remain unread.
Yeah, I'm kind of tending towards that as well. If you are going to take it in a mystic, particularly the 2 I mentioned, it's generally going to get replaced with the higher Book of Shadows once you can afford that.
Yeah, the higher Book of Shadows I think is a bit better now in with all the investigators we got and stuff. So I'd be willing to take another look at it, but not this one.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
All right. So moving on, we've got a Mystics event. It's a 3 cost event, Storm of Spirits. It has a willpower pip, a combat pip, and it is spell traded. And I'm just going to take a deep breath because this has a lot of text. Fight! This attack uses willpower instead of combat. If you succeed, instead of its standard damage, this attack deals 2 damage to each enemy at your location. Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. If a bad stuff token is revealed during the attack, deal 1 damage to each investigator at your location. That's a lot. This is a cool card.
Yeah.
AoE damage.
It's Mystic Dynamite.
Yeah, and it's slightly weaker on the enemies, but it's a lot easier on your allies.
Also, it's cheaper than Dynamite, which is very nice.
I guess one of the downsides is it's still test, like you have to test for the damage, whereas dynamite is just a straight up deal the damage. Um, but I think this is for a level 0 card. This is a pretty good card. And there are some times that you can really get swamped by a lot of enemies. I like this a lot in Zoe, actually, because she's sometimes got the willpower to pull it off, and she's usually fighting a lot of enemies. So,
Yeah, I think that it does bear noting here that this is definitely a much better card for like 3 or 4 player versus 1 or 2 player, just because you're more likely to hit multiple enemies with this. With that said, even solo or 2 player, it's not a bad inclusion in pretty much any Mystic deck. It is a good way to make sure that you're damaging a lot of stuff.
yeah. All right. Well, last card. I'll let you read it. It is quite the combo card as of recent.
Yes, calling in favors. 1 cost event, intellect and agility icons. Favor. Choose an ally's asset that you control and return it to your hand. Then search the top 9 cards of your deck for an ally asset and play it, reducing its cost by X. X is the cost of the ally asset returned to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Operator, I'm going to need you to hang up. Yeah, this is a phenomenal combo card.
Yeah, I see a lot of people using it with kind of that academic army style deck, where you have tons of the seeker allies, and a lot of them have the when they enter play kind of effects. And because of the way this card works, you can do that quite a bit and get maybe some of your bigger allies out for cheap because you've already played the lab assistant and she's done her job. Now you get rid of her and you can use her cost essentially to discount your next enemy or your next ally.
Yep, I have seen him in a lot of Mystic decks as well for Arcane Initiate and
Renfield.
My brain's shutting down here. Thank you, Renfield. Really, this is just a good all-round card for many deck types because most decks have multiple allies in them, and the ability to swap them out when they get hurt or when they get doom tokens on them or once they've served their purpose. It's just a very strong way of allowing that.
Yeah, and I'm really glad. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things I'm really happy about this card. 1, it's neutral, so everyone gets to play with the tricks. 2, your ally comes back to your hand, so you can play them at a later time. And 3, you're searching the top 9 cards, which is a significant portion of your deck. Usually by the time you're playing this, like 9 cards could be just under half of your deck. Which means if you're playing some sort of ally army style game, then you're probably going to find someone. Probably really good in Leo Anderson as well.
Yep, the Leo deck that I'm playing right now actually does some pretty weird tricks with calling in favors.
Well, Josh, do you have a favorite for the pack?
With this, I gotta go with my boy Dario, just because he has saved me many times. But that's just kind of my favorite. I would say probably best of the pack. Probably going to be calling in favors.
Yeah. I mean, I love combos, so I think there's a little bit of my playstyle creeping in here. I think Test of Will for me is my number 1, with a very close to Fight or Flight. And not just because I like Survivor cards, but I think those cards are just amazing, even outside of Survivor. Like, If that card was blue, I think it would be just as good. So
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
love calling in favors for the combo potential. It's amazing.
I don't think there are many bad choices for favorite out of this pack, though. This is a pack of a lot of strong cards.
Yep.
I think Seekers are the only ones that didn't make it out beefy, but they got enough love in Dunwich. They can have a couple of mediocre packs.
Yeah, Seekers are pretty good nowadays, so maybe it's time they take a back seat. They can tone it down a little bit. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Josh. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you out there, thanks for joining us for another couple AV clubs. Well, hope to talk to you soon. Take care.